Hey everybody, welcome to the video on foam rolling slash lacrosse ball, soft tissue work, any of that kind of good stuff. I wanted to talk a little bit about this, make it more of an explanation video, show you some techniques more than just a quick, do this, do that, because there's some principles that can kind of really help you out that are sort of universal when it comes to soft tissue work. So this video is going to focus mainly on the foam roller, so if you have something like this, that'll do. But honestly, depending on the density of your surface, you can get away with doing this on all kinds of different things. You don't necessarily need a foam roller, although they're pretty cheap at this point, pretty easy to find. But things like, mobility tools like this thing is really rock hard and very heavy, down to a lacrosse ball or a tennis ball. Any of these kinds of things will work depending on what you're looking to do. So the main thing I want to talk about when it comes to foam rolling is, now listen, there's no wrong way to foam roll necessarily. I mean, I'm sure people can do some wacky stuff that I would call the wrong way to foam roll. But in general, there's one big thing that I usually cover when I'm teaching folks about foam rolling. And that is that in general, if you've never been taught to use a foam roller, I find that folks will usually want to foam roll with the grain of the muscle. So you got to think about your muscles being, when I teach my son about muscles, he's 8, but I started teaching him when he was 5 or 6, and I told him that it's basically just a bunch of pulleys. It's like a bunch of cranes, right? Which is that the end of the cable is attached to something, and it pulls towards the crane. It can let that thing lower down, or it can pull it towards itself. There's no pushing. But so the idea is, if you imagine all of your muscles, these long strands, these long cables, like a crane, they go in one direction or another. And some of them, they splay out, they can get complicated. But for example, the calf. So I just did the workout 333 yesterday. That's when this is being shot. So my calves are pretty toasty today from all of the running and the double unders. So my calf muscles run up and down long ways, like so. That's the grain of the muscle. I'm showing you on the front, but I'm meaning the back, right? That's the grain of the muscle. So oftentimes people go, oh, my calves are sore, and they just roll up and down the grain of the muscle. I'm going in the same direction as the grain. Now, that can feel really good, and that can be, it can feel nice, and maybe provide you with a sense of relief like that, like a nice soft sort of massage might. But it's not going to do too much to change the tissue and to help you with things like increasing your mobility, stuff like that. What you really want to do is one of 2 different movements. There's lots of stuff you can do, but these are my 2 standard things that will really help you either post-workout with soreness, or especially if you're like, you know what, my calves and ankles are really tight and it's inhibiting my squat, and so I need to work on them, because a lot of people have flexibility, stuff like that, then you really want to do these 2 things. The first one, very easy, it's called smashing, okay? Smashing means we're going to put some pressure into it and then go across the grain of the muscle. So imagine you've got those cables coming down, they're long, and then you're going to take an object and you're going to roll it across them this way. Instead of going up and down with the direction, we're going across the grain. So that means I'm going to find a spot here. I'm probably going to start kind of low. I'm going to pike myself up so I get a little bit of pressure on the calf, right? And this is where you can go less pressure, more pressure, or I've seen people like put a sandbag on their leg for the most pressure, or you can push down. The pressure is up to you. But from there, I'm going to roll across, across the grain of the muscle. Now as I move up, ooh, it's getting really tight right there, getting really tender. So again, across, the smashing is a very different feeling from what I had going on initially when I was rolling with the grain. Oh gosh, yes, much more effective, much more effective. Oh, so good. Okay, so be gentle with yourself, don't overdo it, but smashing is technique number 1. Technique number 2, and this is really helpful with some more pinpointed things like lacrosse balls and stuff like that, is tack and floss. Tack and floss. So the tack and floss, again, we're imagining that we've got these strands, these cables that are your muscle, right? So essentially, think about tack and floss, like you're flossing your teeth. What is flossing your teeth? You have your tooth, which is a big hard object, and then you're taking a little string, a strand, a cable, and you're running it across that hard object, right? So same idea. So how do we do that? Let's say, oh, this really helps when you find a really gnarly spot, something that's really tight. So that's really bad for me right there. This is a bad spot. So let's say I'm smashing, it's okay, and then I go, ooh, that's a bad spot. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna tack it down, okay? So I'm pushing pressure, and I'm just pinning down that spot. Now that's my hard object, is pinning down that spot. And now in order to run the cables across the hard object, I'm gonna point and flex my foot, because that's gonna pull that crane cable back and forth. So, oof, back and forth, back and forth. So every time I point and flex my foot, the cables of that crane are pulling up and loosening, pulling up and loosening. If you want to go with the tooth flossing thing, it makes even more sense if you do something like this, because you can see, like, that's the tooth. I'm going to floss by running the cables across the tooth. Oh, it's bad. Now, keep in mind, it's only this bad on me because I just did that workout yesterday. It might feel good for you, or it might be a lot less intense. Or if you're super tight, it might feel like this, right? Tack and floss. So smashing, tack and floss. So just another brief rundown in case you're not familiar with the muscles and the direction they run. Pretty much think about the way in which they work. So my calves are responsible for pointing my feet up and down like this, so they run up and down. Quads run up and down long ways like this. So in order to get the quads, I'm going to smash across, just working my way across the tissue. How would I tack and floss? I'm tacking it down, and I'm going to bend and flex at the knee, because that's going to run those strands across the foam roller, right? Hamstrings, exact same thing. Glutes are a little tricky because they run in a lot of different directions. The glutes, you can use a ball. That's really gnarly when you use the ball. But my favorite way to hit the glutes is to sit on the foam roller, figure four, one leg over. Whichever one is bent, you're going to roll to that direction. So now we're just on the flesh of that side of your butt. And then you can go, ooh, side to side. Side to side is definitely killer. And then to tack and floss, move your whole leg up and down, right? Same idea, glutes up here. Your lats are tricky because they splay out in diagonal directions, but my favorite way to isolate them is to lay on the foam roller like so, and then bring your arm up above your head. Because now we're running long ways, and I can smash side to side like so. Oh, it's good. And then you can get any bit of arm motion that you can to tack and floss that way. So these are just two big major principles. They work in a lot of different ways, again, with a lot of different objects, but those are the two things you can do that are the most beneficial for your soft tissue work, especially if you find yourself super tight and inhibited in a certain area. But remember, if you're just super, super sore and you just want to feel good and you want to roll with the grain nice and easy, that's cool too. That's cool too. You do what you want to do. But those are my two biggest strategies to make serious changes in your soft tissue. Enjoy. Don't go too hard. Don't bruise yourself up. All right? Be gentle. Have fun.